either in our school subjects or in the college specialties or even in the name of the degrees. We never heard of this particular term. The term is geopolitics. What is geopolitics? I want to define geopolitics as the study of how a country's geography, that is the location on the map, the territory, the demographics, as well as the resources, influences its power, policy, and relations with other countries. Simply saying, geopolitics is how where you live in the map decides who your friends are, who your enemies are, and how much power you hold on the entire globe. What is the thing that the powerful nations of the world have to do with the foreign policy and the local politics of tiny, less powerful nations? What is the power? My definition of power, based on the knowledge from the famous book Arthashastra, written by the great Indian scholar, kingmaker Vishnugupta Chanakya or Kautilya. Power is the capacity of a country to secure the prosperity of its people by controlling its territories and by influencing the world by shaping the agenda of other countries. And to keep it simple, a country's ability to safeguard its own house while being strong enough to make rules for the rest of the neighborhood. That is power. About 2400 years ago, Indian mastermind Vishnugupta Chanakya wrote a book called Arthashastra. In this book, he mentioned that strength is power and the objective is happiness. Happiness of who? Happiness and prosperity of the people in the kingdom. The true objective of the power of the king is Yogakshema, that is securing the safety, prosperity, and happiness of your citizens. To achieve this, Kautilya explained a king must master three kinds of power. Of late, either in the news channels or in podcasts, you might have been hearing about the words power, hard power, and soft power. Vishnugupta Chanakya in his Arthashastra has clearly explained different types of power. Yes, there are equivalents to hard power and soft power, and there is a third kind of power too. So Kautilya divided power into three kinds. One is the Prabhu Shakti, that can be equivalent to the modern day hard power. Hard power comes from the treasury and army or military. Let us see the present day examples of the two most powerful nations, that is USA and China. These are the two most rich nations in the world and the two most powerful militaries with respect to the numbers. They have thousands of ships and fighter jets that make them most powerful nations in the world in terms of the hard power. The next is the soft power. Kautilya's equivalent to soft power is Utsaha Shakti. Utsaha Shakti is a moral and vibe of a nation. For example, the nature's culture, charisma, morale, and the ideals might inspire a lot of people all around the world. For example, if you say yoga or festivals like Diwali or celebrations in the lifetime, most of the people think of one country called India. So this is a kind of soft power. What does soft power do? Is this soft power builds a kind of positive vibe towards that particular country. People will get attracted to the food habits. They may get attracted to the attires or the dressing style. Unknowingly, they want to be your friends. They don't want to go to war with you, or you are directly inspiring them by the way of your culture and living. This is the soft power. And the third one is the smart power. Kautilya called a third kind of power called Mantra Shakti. This is the intellectual component of the state. This power includes the power of intellect and intellectual counsel and intellectual strategies. Even though without having a massive territory or massive quantities of military equipment or money, sufficient intellectual power can make a country walk through all the difficulties and become peaceful and powerful. That particular country may use its soft power as well as hard power or both to become strong and to get what it wants from its neighboring nations or other nations in the world. A country that possesses all three powers, that is, good amounts of hard power, soft power, as well as the smart power, will become invincible because the state is stronger on all fronts. Even the enemies don't even think of fighting a war with this particular nation. The biggest benefit is that you rarely even have to fight to get what you want. But the most important thing is this particular nation must always strive to maintain the soft power, hard power, as well as the smart power all the time to maintain its supremacy. Suppose there is a country which do not have a good hard power or soft power or even smart power. What should they do? Is everything over for them? Absolutely not. Kautilya had a brilliant point here. You don't have the money, you don't have the army or the intellect, but still you need not worry. Sometimes being weaker can be very much beneficial, especially if you have the patience. This particular country had to be patient enough to see that the most powerful country becomes arrogant in repeated successes, they indulge in luxuries and give up on keeping up its hard power and soft power, starts making mistakes so that its own people will get vexed up with the mistakes. Eventually, the giant defeats itself. So, the patience is all that is required for a nation with less power. There is a nation that is not too powerful, that is not too weak, that is in the middle. What about it? Kautilya had a point about that too. He called it the middle king philosophy. That is, you are afraid of a stronger king, and there is a third king that may be stronger than you or weaker than you. You have to play the middle king path so that you won't be involved in the brawl between the other two. On the other hand, being in the middle can reap you certain profits. I'll give you an example. There has been a war between Ukraine and Russia. Russian oil got a price cut and India was buying cheap Russian oil. Initially, US asked India to buy the Russian oil. Later on, due to various reasons, US put tariffs on India for buying Russian oil and asked us to stop buying Russian oil. In fact, we never stopped, but US came down and agreed to a tariff cut and a trade deal in less than a month when the US started a new war with Iran. Again, it is asking India to buy Russian oil. Among all this, India got cheap Russian oil during the Ukraine war. India is trying to get continuous oil supplies in the present day scenario, the war between USA and Iran. So India is getting oil no matter what has happened. Here, India is being a friend to Russia, India is being a friend to USA, as well as India is being a friend to Iran. This is the middle king path. Even without firing a shot in the global conflicts, you are getting something out of it rather than staying with empty hands. This, as per Kautilya, is the third strategy one has to follow when you are not so powerful. Fight the superpower. Whether it's the raw wealth of a superpower, or waiting patiently for an arrogant giant to come down, or playing the role of the perfect middle king, the rules of geopolitics haven't changed much over these 2500 years. This proves how mastermind the Kautilya was. Hats off to him for his work of Arthashastra. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and don't forget to subscribe. No things. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.